everyone! Today I'm going to be doing a book review on the book Lovely War by Julie Berry. This is a book that I actually listened to a while back, so I believe around 2019, by the time of pandemic. So I actually started listening to audiobooks around that time, and this one came out on my recommendations, and I listened to the sample, and I was actually very excited to listen to it. And as all my other books, I listen to them on Audible. So this one, I believe, it's also, you can have a physical copy of it, of course, but the one that I listened to was on Audible, which also helps that we have the narrators telling the story the way they do. So it was really interesting. I really liked it. The story is historical fiction, and it's taken place, I guess, from the point of views. I guess the narrators are supposed to be like gods. So there's the story of Aphrodite and Ares and Hephaestus, I believe that's the name. So Aphrodite and Hephaestus are married, and Aphrodite is having an affair with Hephaestus' brother Ares. And so the whole story goes, and Hephaestus takes them to trial, and so Aphrodite has to tell her side of why she did what she did. And so she starts to tell two love stories, one of Hazel and James and another one of Colette and Aubrey. So the story is basically has a lot to it. Hazel is French, James is British, Aubrey is from Harlem, and he's African American, and Colette is from Belgium. So they're all over the place, and it takes place in World War I believe, and it's a really cool story. It's about love, of course, but it's also about war, and it's got a lot in it. The story is, it's called Lovely War. I don't know if I said it. Lovely War by Julie Berry, yes. And so I guess it's called that because there's not just war, but there's the good things that happen through it. So there's a lot of bad things that do happen through it because it's war, and you can't really expect nothing bad to come out of that. So there's a lot of things that happen to the characters and to friends of the characters. For instance, there's a scene that something happens to Aubrey's friend, and I believe one of Aubrey's friends and one of James' friends, because James is actually heading to the war at the beginning of it. When he meets Hazel, he's like on leave in a week, so he meets Hazel, and Hazel normally doesn't fall in love quickly, or she's not that kind of girl, but with James it kind of ends up being differently, and she ends up falling for him. They end up falling for each other, but he has to leave to the war, so they end up sending each other letters to kind of to keep the relationship as they're going and stuff. But again, war can change people in different ways, and so it's the whole struggle of it. So at the beginning of it, it's not as difficult, but later on it ends up becoming a little more difficult because of everything that's happening in the war, because war is a difficult thing, of course. Everybody knows that. So but James is going for the first time, so this is all affecting him and stuff. And then there's Aubrey, who is African American, and he's having to deal with racism a little bit. He plays the piano, and he goes with a group of African Americans, and they play, I believe, is for the soldiers or something like that. But then he himself ends up participating in the war, and so he has a little bit of racism there, not just from the people that he has to deal with, the people that they are fighting against, and at the same time with some of his own people, and people in his side of the army, because of the racism against them, because their group is basically, they're all African American, and then they have also, there's another group with white people, and so they kind of show a little bit of racism against them, to the point where they bully them in a way, which I won't say details towards that, but that part is it's a little sad too. But then not all of it is sad. It's not all just war. There's a beautiful sides to this story. There's the side of um, Hazel and James later on. And there's the side of Colette meeting Hazel and getting a good friend out of it, because she herself has struggled through a lot. The war has done a lot to her. The war took her family, basically. I think it was the Germans that killed her family, and I think her boyfriend too. So she's kind of brokenhearted and has this mentality that death follows me wherever I go. So she's kind of weary about friendships and relationships and stuff, but she ends up making friends with Hazel, and eventually with Aubrey, who she meets because of Hazel, because Aubrey's playing the piano at the they both, Hazel and Colette, work in the they join the YMCA to help out in the war in their own way. So they participate from that, and they end up meeting Aubrey. So Hazel meets Aubrey first playing the piano, and then Colette shows up a little later, or the next day, I believe. I'm not sure if it was the same day or the day after, but she meets him as well. And so all three of them become friends, but Colette and Aubrey kind of like each other. So that's the second relationship. So it's Hazel and James, and Aubrey and Colette. So they tell the story. Aphrodite is telling the story of both of them, but trying to explain a little bit more of what love is like, in a sense, because she herself, being in this book, of course, because I don't exactly believe that myself, but in this book, she herself, supposedly being the goddess of love, had not truly experienced love the way she wanted love to be, or the way she wants love to be, because she's having trouble or something with her husband. I don't know, that's what she believes. And so that's supposed to be what she wants to say about her having an affair. So she's trying to explain what love truly is, by showing the story of Hazel and James and Aubrey and Colette. So now the story of Hazel and James, I think it's the one that kind of impacts me a little more. I mean, they both do. Like, Colette and Aubrey's relationship is, well, she's Belgian, so she's white, and Aubrey is black, and they have difficulties through that. So I like that they still work hard to overcome this situation, or this treatment, basically. But as for James and Hazel, I like that it kind of feels like, despite the fact that they're young and, you know, they're going through the whole their whole phase of crush kind of thing, and it's not just a crush, because you can see that they are able to overcome something as big as a war, because war can affect the mind of a person, and James is in that situation. You know, you see deaths and stuff like that, and mutilation and all these crazy things happening there, and having to be in that state, and hoping that you get out of there to see your loved ones, and, you know, and from Hazel's side of it, having to support him and help him and do whatever she could do to help the ones in the war, but at the same time trying to write back to James to help him out as well, you know. And they have to go through a lot of struggles just to strengthen their relationship and to stay through it, because this doesn't just happen in days. It takes time for the war to finish. So they have to be strong through it, you know. So I really like this story. I like the way it was told. Like I was trying to say in a previous video that I tried to record, which didn't come out the way I wanted to, but I was trying to say that the story goes from both perspectives, sorry. And so it tells Aphrodite's telling the story, but it also shows, besides Aphrodite's, Ares and Hephaestus, it also brings up Apollo and Hades, because of course it's a war, so you'll find death in it too. So I was watching a video about it a little bit, and they talked about how in the book copy of it, basically, and not in the physical copy, instead of the audiobook of it, the story is also told just like in the audiobook, where it switches characters narrating. So you'll find pieces where are narrated by Aphrodite's other pieces, which is the I think is the girl scenes, are being told by Aphrodite, and this the part of James, I think, is told by Ares, and the part of Aubrey is told by Apollo, because Apollo is supposed to be like, you know, the god of art or something like that, I think it was. So, and of course Ares is the god of war, so James is in the war, and Aphrodite was telling the love scenes and stuff and their feelings and stuff, so she narrates that part. So I like how they do switch from one to the other, though I do think that I like, and this is more of the narration part of it, not the story, but I like the way that I think Aphrodite and Ares tell the story. Apollo, I like it too. I like the story itself, but I'm not sure I like too much the narration, although it does give me like jazz vibes, so I guess that's probably why they did it, because he does the music part, because he does the piano, Aubrey himself. So I guess it would be a good that he's doing the narration. So I guess I may like it a little bit. So sorry about that. But yeah, I think overall it's a really interesting story. I've never listened to stories where it has to do with different gods or whatever, according to the way they tell the story, And so I have in games heard of it like that, but I have not read any other books like that have include the gods or whatever, except for God of War, but that one I listened to it more recently, as opposed to the one I'm reviewing today, which that one was in 2019, when I read it. So I do highly recommend it. The story is really cute. I also listened to a couple of other books from her. I don't know if I'll be reviewing those. So if you do see it on the title, Julie Berry, you already know that she is a good author, because the other books that I listened to from her are also pretty good. So I may or may not do that. I will. However, if I do upload that video, put it in the description on here whenever I do upload it. It won't be on here the first day, but if you see this way after this video is uploaded, then you might see the link on there. All right, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I didn't ramble too much. Again, subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, book reviews on Wednesdays. Saturdays I do writing sprints, and I have been doing other things here and there. So the last video, this past Saturday, I did a blindfolded challenge, which was pretty cool and interesting because I've never done that before. And I have the aftermath video to that one coming up this Saturday at 6 p.m. Always at 6 p.m. for me, 6 p.m. Central Time. So whatever that time is, wherever you are, that's when the video will go up. So do subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so that way you get notified and you don't forget, and you're like, oh, okay, the video is coming up, let me go watch it, so you don't miss it. And again, tell me if you have been reading any books, which books have you been reading, and any book recommendations that you have for me. I would love to listen to them on my audiobooks. I'll add them to my wish list, and hopefully they have them and I can listen to them. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, have a great day. Bye.